Hey there, welcome to the Multifamily Mixtape Podcast, brought to you by Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Mark Sharp. Multifamily Mixtape is an eclectic podcast as we will discuss any and all things multifamily, from maintenance how-to videos to interviews with industry experts. So sit back, relax, grab a drink, and join me for some campfire-style conversation and maybe a few laughs. Hey everyone, welcome to the Multifamily Mixtape. Today we have Dani Black with AppWork. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very well. I was telling you before we hit the record button here that I woke up yesterday morning to snow on the ground, and again, and a couple hours later, like it was completely gone. It's like it never happened. And it's so wild, the weather here in South Carolina. It's just completely nuts. You never know what to expect. But
I'm down in Florida and it is 40 degrees, which is really rare for Florida. So
40 degrees in Florida. Okay. Yeah. All right.
It was a cold dog walk this morning.
Yeah, I bet. Well, thank you for wanting to come on and join me today. And I know we're going to talk about a bill that was just passed in California, September of last year. The bill was Assembly Bill 2801, and it was a law that was put into place in California to help or to prevent landlords from taking security deposits to subsidize property improvements. So, like, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think in general it's a good law. I think it's something that we should be doing as an industry. We should be proving out costs. I mean, as a former renter myself, I know I was always really nervous about getting my security deposit back. You know, I lived in New York City. My security deposits were $3,000. Like that's a lot of money to be at risk. So, you know, I think from that standpoint, it's a good practice. We should prove what we're doing and make sure that the work that we're doing is actually legitimate and it was damage caused by the resident. But at the same time, I think that operationally, it's going to be a challenge for a lot of landlords in California.
Yeah. And I completely jumped the gun and got straight into the meat and potatoes here. And I apologize. But Dani, could you please tell the listeners who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm the CRO at AppWork, and I got into the industry about 10 years ago, maybe a little less than 10 years ago. I started my career at Zillow, actually, and have been on the supplier side for the bulk of my career, moving around to a number of different PropTech companies. I've worked at Elise AI. I've worked at a parking technology company called Parkade. So a couple of different options, working kind of on a lot of different sides of the business as a supplier partner. It's been a fun ride, and I've gotten to see and learn a lot about apartment management from all different angles.
Yeah. It is a wild ride, and I like that. I always enjoy hearing people's backstories and hearing how they came into the industry. Because as an advocate, obviously for the multifamily industry, it's really good for people to know that it's not just what you see at the apartments. It's not just management, maintenance. There are so many other opportunities to serve this industry. And you just rattled off a few that I didn't think about. PropTech is still new to me. I'm still trying to get accustomed to all the technology. It's coming out so fast.
It's exploding. It's probably the last 5 years. It's just, I mean, when I first started in the industry, there were a handful of PropTech companies, and you knew all of them. And now there's, I couldn't even, I could probably name 15 off the top of my head that I like that I know and have been around, and then there's 1,000 others that you've just never even seen or heard of. And every time I go to a conference and walk the conference floor, I'm like, oh wow, like that's new, that's cool, like that's a really interesting concept and idea. So it's an exciting space to be in.
When I got into the industry, we were handwriting work orders in triplicate. We had this board and it had these pegs coming down the left side, and there was a big slab of paper that you had to line up the pegs and push them in, and then you filled out the information and you ripped off the top copy, and that's what you
had
took with you. And
carbon copy paper.
yeah, it was a white slip, a yellow slip, and a pink slip,
Mm-hmm.
and the yellow or the white went with you, and that was left behind. The yellow was for maintenance records. The pink was for the files in the office, because we had to keep paper files. We had folders of all the work orders instead of ways to store them digitally.
Crazy enough, I haven't heard anyone talk about the triplicate copies, the carbon copies, since I started at AppWork, but I do hear a lot of people that are still on paperwork orders. It's not uncommon, and companies that you'd be like, I think, very surprised by. I'm not going to name any names, but
thank you. I don't want to get canceled.
But I think it is sometimes I'm very shocked by companies that are still on paperwork orders.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely don't say any names. But do you think it's a fear of the unknown? Do you think it's like I don't understand PropTech, I don't understand technology, or is it just like really wanting to hold on to the old school? What do you?
I think there's some hurdles to cross when you move from paperwork orders to a mobile maintenance facilities app, and one of the big ones is just device costs. It adds a substantial cost to your budget when you move to mobile. However, that gets paid off tenfold because your team's time is significantly impacted. You're getting much more efficient. The team is spending much more time on actually completing the work orders versus paperwork, and you also have a lot better record keeping, a lot less lost work orders or things that fall through the cracks. So that impacts different levels of even like liability from a legal standpoint. You can have better record keeping. Those types of systems can get you out of legal trouble just by having the records that you wouldn't have had on a paper maintenance. So I think that it's maybe a little bit of, hey, what we're doing is fine, it's working for us, why fix something that's not broken, and a little bit of the cost and the barrier, the hurdles. And I know a lot, we just talked about how much PropTech has been exploding. Well, they've been focused on other priorities, right? And maintenance, and having your team switch over from a system that has been working for you to something completely new is a large shift, and it's something that takes time and has to have the right type of focus internally. And that is not always something that people were ready to do. I think this year and next year are going to really be the turning points for that. There's a lot of interest in, we've gotten a lot of interest in AppWork just because I think some of the things like AB2801 that are kind of forcing the issue, because that law would be really difficult to comply with without some kind of mobile technology. So I think we're getting there, but there are definitely still companies that are using paper.
Wow. Well, let's segue. Let's go right back into AB 2801 and the implications. You kind of touched on it a second ago about the burden that it's going to put on the on-site staff. So there's two major dates with this law. And I'm reading this straight from the California's website. Effective July 1st, 2025, the law mandates that landlords can only deduct from tenant security deposit for costs necessary to restore the property to its original condition at the start of tenancy, excluding normal wear and tear. This includes expenses for materials, contractor services, or professional cleaning. What does that mean to the on-site staff?
I mean, I think that it means that they have to keep track of a lot of additional things now. Right. So there's a lot of things that they didn't necessarily have to keep track of, and now they have to calculate things on for their security deposits that they never had to do before. They were never required to take before and after photos, and certainly not required of taking photos of the repair. Now, were some companies doing it? Absolutely. And those companies are very well positioned to already be in compliance. Although there's even still some aspects of this law in terms of the reporting that's required to the resident that will still make compliance challenging, even if you were already in the practice of taking those photos. But I think as a whole, from what we're hearing from companies we're speaking with, this is a big challenge for them because their maintenance teams are typically used to going out and doing an inspection, maybe snapping some photos, but only snapping photos if something was already in need of repair, not taking really like before photos of everything. So now you've just lengthened the time of your inspections. If you're not using a facilities app, you need to figure out a way to store all of these high resolution photos. You need to have them labeled appropriately. And you can just imagine that without a tool to do that with, it's going to get lost. Like if you're trying to use a digital camera and upload those things to a Dropbox and then have someone go in and label what everything is, like that's going to get super tedious really quickly. You probably have 100, 150 photos for every inspection, at least, depending on the size of the unit. So that's a lot. That's a lot of storage costs. So there's a lot to this that, from an operations standpoint, gets really challenging really quickly for especially large property management companies.
So the second date with this is starting April 1st. Landlords are required to photograph the premises after a tenant moves out, but before any repairs or cleaning are conducted, as well as after completing any necessary work. These photographs must be provided to the previous resident, along with an itemized statement detailing any deductions made from the security deposit. A lot of this, to me, obviously, there's tons of redundancy, right? I mean, you've got to take a picture of something before you do it. You got to take a picture of the repair after you've done it to prove that there was a repair needed or that it was done. But I wonder, or I worry about turn times. Is this potentially going to affect the length of time that it may take to get an apartment turned over or ready for the next resident if you have to take these before and after photos?
I think it could. I think it depends on what the process is already for a manager. I think a standard practice is already to do move-in and move-out inspections. And so if you can combine those move-in and move-out inspections with this process, then it doesn't have to significantly lengthen. It might lengthen by a half a day, but I don't know that you're going to have extremely lengthened processes unless you're not already in the habit of doing these types of inspections.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mark?
I mean, I being on the side of it, trying to schedule contractors and trying to schedule people to come in. And I mean, I'd love to say that the industry as a whole has it figured out, and that
we love to help and want to have it figured out, but I think our industry doesn't always.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, if it was like, hey, I have this move out report. These are the dates that somebody's moving out, and I can get everything scheduled on the day after, then sure. But it doesn't work like that now anymore. I mean, it's you have a move out date, and unfortunately, a lot of this people are holding over. They refuse to leave. If there's people involved in an eviction process, sometimes those dates aren't so clear, and so it could affect. Now, granted, I'm thinking about the worst things, but being on site as long as I have, I tend to go.
Yeah. Right, because those are the things that really impact, right? Those are the things that can have the largest impact. Is the worst case scenarios, is edge cases.
Yeah, people may be thinking like, well, this is out in California. What does the right coast, the East Coast, have to do with anything coming out of California? But again, before you and I hit the record button, we talked about 3 other states that laws like this are already in discussion.
Yeah, so I think California in general tends to be the first mover on things like this, on tenant-friendly laws, and then quickly behind, the rest of the states start to follow. So right now, there's already discussions in Texas, Florida, and New York. about laws that are similar in nature to this law. And so I think that's a really good indicator that if this is successful in California, we're going to see other states adopt this same framework for other property for other states. And so if that happens, property managers across the country should already really be thinking about this and preparing, because the California law was signed into law in September. People have to start the first aspects of this. They had to start doing detailed reconciliations with folks on January 1. The first dates for requirements for photographs are April 1st. And then it has to be fully implemented with all before and after photos, as well as after repair photos by July 1st. So they didn't even give a full year to prepare for this. And given what we know about how long it can take to find a vendor, source that technology, get your team up and running on it, companies in other states should really take notice and start to look at this now, because if they need to buy devices and train teams, especially if they're already still on paper work orders, this is something that you need to prioritize in 2025, because in 2026 you could have a law on the books that is already implemented. I mean, we saw it already, like from September to January. In January it took effect, so that's only 4 months. That's not a lot of time to prepare.
Right. We talked about some of the things you touched briefly on, AppWork and some of the services that AppWork has that can help with these types of programs or inspections to keep property management companies, keep on-site staff, keep you compliant. So what are some of the tools and tricks that AppWork specifically could help with?
So AppWork as a whole is a maintenance operations software. And so we try to do everything as it pertains to maintenance. And so already AppWork is actually set up to be compliant with AB 2801. If you're using AppWork, you're good. You can create move-in inspections that require photos at every point. You can create move-out inspections that require photos at every point. And then we can link those two inspections together on a comparison report. And then we can also link any work orders that are created from that move-out inspection to that move-out inspection and within a comparison report. So we basically give you a report for AB 2801 compliance. And it's got the photos of all of the aspects. So you can compare and you can see, okay, on the move-in inspection, this was fine. On the move-out inspection, it was marked as damage. Here's the photo. Here's the differences. And now here's the work order that was generated. And here's the repair. And here's the photo of that repair. And so you've got everything. And it's just as easy as running your standard maintenance process. You're just doing it through an app that does the hard work for you. We store all the photos. Well, not the hard work. They're doing the hard work. They're actually doing the physical pieces, but we do the annoying office administrative work for you. And we can reconcile all of those things within the technology so that you don't have to spend hours pulling the photos from each report and then pulling the work order photos in and organizing all of that in some kind of massive spreadsheet that is difficult to manage. So we are doing it for you.
So as far as AppWork and adaptability, if you have, however many thousands of management companies there are and owner groups across the country, no two owners, managers are alike. Are these reports, are these inspections, can they be adapted to my company specifically? Can I, if there's certain things that I need to inspect for compliance with my own company, like can I tailor it directly to what I need it to do?
Yeah, great question. Yes, the answer is yes. We work off of inspection templates. Everything is customizable. So you can build out your inspection template to be exactly what you need. And those two things can be, even if your move-in inspection is different from your move-out inspection, we have a way for you to reconcile that on the reconciliation report, and we can map those inspections together in a way that you can still get all the information you need, even if you have slightly different move-in and move-out inspection templates. So it's very customizable. We know that not even just property management companies operate differently. Sometimes property by property within a property management company, they're operating differently. So they have different attributes, right? They have different amenities, different things that they need to be checking out, different heating systems, different HVAC. So we can tailor that to the property. And our settings are really easy to manage. It's something that you as a user could do, or it's something that you can have our team do, and you can just give us a spreadsheet and say, I want all of this in there, and we'll build it out.
That sounds like you're almost making it too easy.
I mean, there's a reason we have clients that have never left. Most of our clients, I think all of our clients, we've never had a client leave us yet. So
that's amazing. And, coming from someone like myself who started off in the maintenance industry, again, back when there were handwritten work orders and things, I love technology. I think technology is amazing. I'm in the age group of people who got to see technology start from nothing to what it is today. And some of it scares me. Some of the AI capabilities and things that are out there and the things that it can do, I mean, I find it fascinating, but it also scares me just with what's out there. But it really sounds like AppWork has put things into motion that definitely have the end user in mind. It's people like myself who are going to be using this app every single day.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's easy for me, being old school on site, afraid of technology, scared of technology, and if it's easy, then I don't see why anyone wouldn't want to have something like why not? Why not make your job easier? It's
well,
crazy.
And I think AppWork has the added benefit, right, of being developed by a property management company. We were built first as an in-house technology and then launched to the market. And so that puts us in a really interesting and unique position, because as we were building, the technology is 7 years old. So our product is super stable, but our company is only a year and a half. So we, as a whole, our company is super young, and we still have that startup mentality and everything, but our product is super stable, and it was built by an operator. And our CEO was a VP of operations at this company for a decade and built the technology while he was there. And so every step of the way, as we're developing AppWork, we're getting feedback from our maintenance technicians, our maintenance supervisors, our property managers, our VPs. Everyone in the organization had a hand in helping shape how this technology developed. And because of that, how everything flows together is really seamless for the operators. It just is very, very intuitive and makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense. That's probably the best commercial, best plug you could do. It just makes sense. And that is absolutely crazy. Well, Dani, I appreciate you so much for coming on today and talking about this and at least getting the word out there, because like you said, a lot of these bills do start off in California and then they start working their way like wildfire. I hate to use that term, but it sweeps across the country. And you may think you're safe in South Carolina, Florida. Well, Florida was one of the states that you mentioned. But I want to reiterate, and I think, Dani, you'll echo me, that this is a good law. This isn't something that's designed to, it's definitely there to benefit the tenant, but it's also because the tenant needs this information. The resident needs this information, and they need to hold us accountable so that we're not taking advantage.
Honestly, too, I think it's also helpful for the owner operators out there, because it'll cut down on lawsuits, like frivolous lawsuits against security deposits. It's going to, it just by nature of what you're proving out, it's going to. If you have that solid proof of everything, you're not going to get random lawsuits from a tenant that says they didn't do this. So I think it works both ways in favor of everyone.
Yeah. We'll keep our eyes on it. We'll see. We'll see how it progresses. But Dani, if there are people listening who would want to get in touch with you to learn more about AppWork, how would they do that?
So you can reach me at Dani, Dani, at appworkco.com.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Or
you again.
LinkedIn. Feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn too. Love a good LinkedIn conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. LinkedIn, I remember when it first came out, and it was like a professional version of stalking, but now it seems to have I'd say it seems to have a purpose. I enjoy LinkedIn now more than the other social sites out there, but it's a good one.
It's less, I get less depressed when I read LinkedIn than I do when I'm reading the other socials.
Right. Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much. And to the listeners, we appreciate you joining us today to learn a little bit about AB 2801 and how it could affect our industry. So stay tuned. And, Dani, maybe I'd love to have you back on. And I've got several attorney friends and people that I could get on, and would love to get like a legal perspective.
Yeah. So funny enough, I'm actually I passed the bar in New York back in the day, but prior to my stint in multifamily. So I am not a lawyer anymore, but I used to be. So I'd very much welcome a legal discussion.
Absolutely. Wow. Great. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We appreciate you being here, and we will catch you on the next one. See you later.
Bye, Mark.
Thanks again for taking time out of your day to listen to this episode. I hope you found it entertaining and insightful. If you like this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our other industry podcasts and sponsorship opportunities. And until next time, don't be afraid to crank the volume.